For almost all of human history, you didn't sleep through the night. You woke up in the middle of it on purpose. Sometime after midnight, you'd open your eyes, not in panic, not because something was wrong, and you'd lie there in the dark for an hour or more, awake, thinking, praying, talking, and then you'd drift back to sleep. This wasn't insomnia. It was normal. It was how nearly everyone slept for thousands of years. And the strangest part? We forgot it ever happened. This is what ancient humans actually did at night. When you picture the deep past after dark, you probably imagine something simple. The sun goes down. People huddle in the cold, afraid of what's out there, and wait for morning. The night was empty. Dead time. A gap to survive until the light came back. That's almost completely wrong. Because the night wasn't when our ancestors stopped being human. In many ways, it was when they became most human. The dark hours were when imagination was born, when stories were told, when gods were invented, myths took shape, and the first cultures formed. The day was for surviving, but the night was for becoming us. And to understand why, we have to start with sleep itself. In the 1990s, a historian named Roger Ekirch was digging through old documents, diaries, court records, medical books, prayers, trying to understand what night was really like before electricity. And he kept tripping over a strange phrase. Over and over, in text after text, people mentioned their first sleep, and then, later, their second sleep. At first, he thought nothing of it, but the phrase wouldn't go away. So he started counting. By the time he was done, he had found more than 500 references, and later, over 2,000 in a dozen languages, stretching all the way back to ancient Greece. What he uncovered was this. For most of human history, people didn't sleep in one solid block. They slept in two. They'd go to bed not long after dark and fall into a first sleep of a few hours. Then, sometime after midnight, they would naturally wake. And for an hour or more, they were simply awake in the dark. People called it the watch. After that, they'd sink into a second sleep until dawn. A whole pattern of human life, hidden in plain sight. And almost no one alive today has ever lived it. So what did people do, awake in the middle of the night? Almost everything. They prayed. And many religious texts were written for exactly this hour. They talked softly with whoever lay beside them. They got up to feed a fire, check on a child, even slip out to visit a neighbor. A 16th century French doctor advised couples that this was the best time to conceive a child, rested, calm, undisturbed. But the most important thing they did was simpler than all of it, they thought. This was a quiet, dim, undemanding pocket of time. No work, no noise, no one expecting anything. People lay there and turned over the dreams they had just surfaced from. They let their minds drift. For most of human history, it was the most reflective hour of the entire day. And we deleted it. And here's the part that proves this wasn't just an old habit. It's written into our biology. In the early 1990s, a scientist at the U.S. National Institute of Mental Health ran an experiment. He took a group of people and gave them something we almost never get anymore. Darkness. 14 hours of it, every night, for weeks. The kind of long, dark night our ancestors lived through every winter. And slowly, something remarkable happened. Their sleep split in two. A first sleep. A long stretch of calm wakefulness in the middle. Then a second sleep. No one taught them. Their bodies simply remembered a rhythm we thought was gone. The two sleeps were still in there, waiting. But sleep is only half the story. Because the night wasn't only for resting. It was lit by fire. For hundreds of thousands of years, the campfire was the center of human night. And an anthropologist named Polly Wiesner wanted to know what actually happened inside that circle of light. So she did something almost no one had done. She recorded it. She studied the Jew/Honzi, a hunter-gatherer people of southern Africa who still live much the way humans did for most of our existence. And she compared what they talked about during the day with what they talked about at night around the fire. The difference was staggering. By day, the talk was practical. Work, food, where the resources were. Complaints, criticism, gossip, the business of survival. But at night, by firelight, the conversation transformed. The practical talk melted away, and in its place came stories, singing, dancing, tales of distant people and spirits and the deep past. More than 80% of firelight talk was storytelling. The fire didn't just keep them warm. It gave them hours the day never had. About 4 extra hours, too dark for hunting or gathering. Economically useless time. And our ancestors poured it into something else entirely. Into myth. Into legend. Into describing people who weren't there, places no one had seen, spirits no one could touch. This is where the imagination got its exercise. Around the fire, in the dark, a person could become a hero. A hunt could become a legend. The dead could speak again. Stories, as Wiesner put it, were our original social media, and they were told at night. The day built the body, but the firelit night built the mind. The gods, the religions, the shared stories that bind whole peoples together. They were very likely born in this flickering, unproductive, magical pocket of darkness. And it's worth remembering just how dark that darkness was. No streetlights, no glow on the horizon. When the fire burned low, the night was absolute. That dark held real danger, predators, cold, the unknown. The fear of the dark we still feel is an ancient inheritance, written into us by ancestors for whom the night really could be deadly. But that same dark held something we've almost completely lost. Look up on a truly dark night, far from any city, and the sky isn't black. It's flooded with stars, thousands of them, and the glowing river of the Milky Way arching overhead. That sky was the ceiling of every human night for 100,000 years. Most people alive today have never even seen it, and this is the quiet truth hiding in all of it. We think the light bulb simply lit up the night, made it safer, more useful, more productive. And it did. But it didn't only push back the dark. It erased an entire human experience. It deleted the second sleep, that reflective hour in the middle of the night. It turned the firelit storytelling hours into more time for work. It traded the watch and the campfire and the river of stars for productivity and a glowing screen. For thousands of years, the night was when we dreamed out loud, when we wondered. When we slowly became the storytelling, myth-making, meaning-hungry creatures we still are. Every god you have ever heard of, every legend, every first story ever told, there's a good chance it was born in the dark, in that quiet hour after the first sleep, or in the circle of a dying fire. We didn't just lose the dark. We lost what we used to do inside it. And somewhere out there, under a sky we can no longer see, the night is still waiting, exactly as it always was, for anyone who remembers how to wake up inside it.